Welcome to another Sunday morning conversation, everybody. Today, my guest is Luke Cantin of Credo Tri. They are a motivational app for you. So please do check it out. It's very interesting. And they have, I think, what is it? He said 48 different athletes on there that provide you with inspiring quotes. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. I appreciate it. So how's it going, man?
Doing good. Prepping, getting ready for the new launch. So, things to do and updating some things about the pro, try to, get their profile as updated as possible. So ones that have won races and so on and so forth.
Now, what does their profile consist of?
The profile consists of, underneath their picture, there's a picture, and then you click on the picture and there's a small intro of each of the athletes, right? That particular athlete you want to get. It's a welcome message from the athlete. Welcome to Credo Tri. And then underneath you have their social media icon. So if you are not following the athlete, or if you just want to see what's going on, you just click on their icon, plus a small description of their, lack of a better term, their performance, what they've done, if they won any national world championships or they're part of the Olympics and what have you. So there's always a quote that's related to them underneath, either a quote they've used in the past from someone else or a quote of their own to stay motivated.
Okay, so your motivation, is it just based on, tell me how everything comes together, because I've seen the interface, but tell me how the nuts and bolts come together to cause the motivation.
Right. Well, if we go back, the conversations that we've had in the past, and what I'm telling you now is that this concept came in about 2 years ago. My partner and I, he'd had a coach, and he says it's great to have a coach, but sometimes he's not with me every day, which is understandable. Wouldn't that be great if I could have one of the pros that I really look up to motivate me in the morning, by a quote of some sort that he used in the past, and give me a little takeaway tip for that particular discipline that I'm going to be doing that particular day. So that's how the idea came about. So we have a database of right now up to 500 quotes from, I would say 48, 49 athletes. Most of them are pros, and we have inspirers as well. People that have gone, they're Paralympians. Rudy Tulsa Garcia is one of them. If you're not familiar with him, he really has a great story. Lauren Parker, Chris Nikic, who's the first person to complete a full triathlon. So I mean, those are the things that that we cover, and it's an app to really inspire everyone that's involved in triathlon. So that's what the concept is about. We're expanding now, and then what you can do is you can be motivated instantly on the app, or you can set up an alarm when you get up in the morning, and that alarm is going to wake you up randomly to a pro that's there to motivate you. And the reason we did randomly is that we wanted all the pros and all the inspirers on the platform to get equal amount of exposure. It's about all the athletes are involved. They're athletes that are inspirational, they're motivational, and they love the sport of triathlon and willing to spread the love of the sport of triathlon and stay within the community. So that's the concept behind it. And there's multiple layers attached to it, which will come out in September. So your new one.
I guess what I ask is, where's the money in this?
Meaning what? With the pros or for us?
Yeah, for you. I mean, obviously, I know how I don't know what your deal is with the pros, but how do you make this a profitable venture? Because you have overhead and everything. This can't all be, free.
No, there is overhead now. Yeah, for sure. The way that we generate revenues through the amount of subscribers, and that's how we do it. So we have a partnership with the pros. They help us promote the platform, and we promote them in exchange, promote their races, and so on and so forth. We're in the first, I would say, year of still doing some beta testing. And we haven't started charging for the app yet, but it will come a time in January when 2023 comes around, that we're going to start charging $5 a month or $45 a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
And so that's how it's going to, the profit's going to be generated, and we'll be able to bring more content into the app, and obviously more interaction. The biggest thing that we're coming out now, and what the app, originally the app was strictly focused on motivation, and what we soon realized is that you have to keep people that are subscriber engaged. So we've started a newsletter announcing who's going to race in the coming months. We have we have Zoom calls that we do with our subscribers, and we do live events on Instagram to generate the awareness. But what's cool and what's coming up in September is we will have over, me make sure I've got the correct number, 260 events, which will be uploaded on the app, meaning all the Ironman full distance, Ironman 70.3 distance, the challenge family races, and the bucket list races, and local races in the US that are fairly well recognized, like a St. Anthony's on the west coast of Florida, or the Chicago Triathlon in Chicago, or the New York Triathlon in New York. And what that will do is you'll be able to go on the app, select the race that you're going to race, have a countdown clock, and you'll have a small description of the race. And within that description, you will be able to view videos from pros and some other ambassadors that have been, let's say, particularly racing that particular race for a long time. And they'll give you tips on how to race that particular course. Also, they'll give you tips on where to stay, where to go, for breakfast in the morning, and afterwards, where to hang out, and so on and so forth. So, the app will be, yes, it'll be motivational first to keep people engaged, obviously. But now with this new upgrade that we'll have with all these events around the world, then it'll be much more interactive. So there'll be motivation for each race, and there'll be tips, takeaway tips, and specifically on some races. I'll give you an example with Escape from Alcatraz. On the roster thus far, we have Jackie Ehring, Leanda Cave, Ben Canute, Emma Pallant, Leanda, and both Leanda and Ben Canute have won Escape from Alcatraz 4 times. So, what perfect person to give you unique tips on how to race Alcatraz. And so those are the things that really are going to be really cool about the app, and the pros are excited to share their experience, and hopefully, you're not going to do some of the mistakes that they've done in the past, and you'll learn from them. So when you get there, at least it's not 100%, full surprise. You'll get some knowledge on the course and, how to prepare for it.
Yeah, if you throw in Andy Potts there, I think you have a full house.
Yeah. Well, here's what the way we research our pros is we did an entire profile for an entire year. Well, we research all the pros, right? And some of the pros get it more than others. Some of them are really inspirational more than others. And that's why on our app, you'll see pros that have 3,500 followers on Instagram up to like the Brownlee brothers that have, over 200. But the key for us is to find the people that are inspirational. That's really where the pros, it's easier to engage with them when they believe in the platform. If they somewhat are on the fence, it's not for everyone to record your motivational tip on a phone and then send it off our way so we can upload, right? So some people are more adapt to this, and they're more comfortable doing so, and some of the pros are not. So you have to pick the pros that it's right for them because they have a busy schedule, and that's where it's at.
I'll tell you something before I started this YouTube venture, and I asked, I know a guy who's a sports journalist at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. That's our major newspaper here in Atlanta. And I talked to him, and he does, the 4 major sports that people care about. And I asked Tyler, I'm like, hey, I want to do this. How do I even start? He's like, well, in your case, he's like, you want to talk to, he used an example of his industry where he's like, when I talk to people, your elite athletes, your top tier pros, they're really good at sound bites. He's like, you can break them down into clips, stuff like that. He's like, if you want a good interview, talk to those back of the pack, middle of the pack pros and those up and comers who are making their way up the ranks. He always told me they have just as good of shit to say to you as those elite people do, but they're better at it and nobody's asking them. And that's why you should be,
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what we have, a mix of, newbies and people that have been in the sport for a while. And obviously people that like the Sebastian Kienleys and the Greg Alexander that's won numerous championship, they do it because they love the sport and want to give back, right? Some of the pros, like you said, that's some of them will just say, no, I don't need, I'm not comfortable doing that. I'm not going to do it. But, and then when you approached me and it got me thinking on a few other levels, and that's what we'll do, is it's always great to have a perspective of the pro, but what about an age grouper that's done Escape from Alcatraz, right? It's a different mindset. So those are the things that we'll add eventually to, here's a pro tip if you want to do Escape. Well, here's an age grouper perspective as well. So I think you take the good and the bad on each side, and you make your own analysis on how to prepare for it. But I think you'll come to pretty much the same conclusion. But someone who's the biggest challenge with Escape from Alcatraz obviously is the swim, right? It's cold water, current, and I think that's one of the reasons people want to do it, is to pretend they escape Alcatraz, and then do that swim for 1.5 miles, right? But it'll come first. We're uploading all these the pros on these races, and then we'll eventually add some, lack of a better term, some ambassadors, age groupers that have done specific races. And I think that's going to bring another dimension, which will bring it, I think, closer to the age grouper, candidly.
Yeah, well, pros and age groupers, they're essentially racing. Their motivations are different. Age groupers are racing either A, to just complete, or B, they're racing the clock. A pro's racing for the cash.
Yeah.
They're
They
racing
have a passion, people don't realize that, we all say, oh man, if I could, I would turn pro tomorrow. But they train like 40 hours a week. So their passion and their hobby becomes a job, right?
Yeah.
And some of them, they're driven, they'll do it and they'll do it forever. And some of them realize after 4 or 5 years, they'll go, okay, maybe I need a regular job. But, each has their own purpose. And I think it's just, good to do it and have a different perspective.
Well, yeah. And, it's kind of like when I interview the back of the pack and middle of the pack people, they add up. Hold on. Alexa, stop. So, so with my TBI, I have to have my calendar automated in my Alexa to tell me what's going on all the time.
Right. Okay.
But with the back of the pack and middle of the pack people, they add a different layer to being a triathlete, where you're a pro, but you're also a neuroscientist, a nurse, all these different things. And it's a teacher or a cop. There's all kinds of different layers to that, and it adds a little bit more
reality to the aspect of that race. Or you're not going to do an Ironman distance in 9 or 10 hours or sub-8 now, when the pros are all doing
they
sub-8,
make it seem more those people seem more relatable to, because they have to hold down a job and be a pro, just like you got to hold down a job and be an age grouper.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, I think we're finding out, the last two, we launched the app Credo, the year the PTO, which was 2020. Yeah. The year the PTO launched their official championship at Challenge Daytona. We launched it there. And believe me, my background, sports marketing and managing some athletes and so on and so forth. And my partner's, is a lawyer, he's got a big law firm. But the key is to listen. If you want to be successful in any business, particularly this one here, because it targets consumers and people that are triathletes, is to really listen to what they have to say. It's been a big learning curve for us to really understand how an application works, right? And I think we've learned the terms that we've constantly heard by different people in that industry is, no friction. Have an app that's got no friction, easy to navigate, and so I think that makes a big difference in the way when we started the app and where we are now, and when we're going to be in September, and for people to constantly interact with the app, because I'm sure you look at your app, and I look at my phone. Sorry, you look at your phone, you probably got 30 apps, and out of 30 apps, how many do you use almost every day? Maybe none of them. Maybe every second day. So the plan is really for athletes. It'll be sort of the go-to app for any triathlete around the world, and it'll be a big community. So if you're interested in triathlon, it's my turn now. If you're interested in triathlon and you want to pursue it as a hobby and as a way of life for you to stay fit, I think the app will serve you right. And then we'll expand eventually to nutrition clinics online, and engagement with pros. The biggest thing that's very popular with us now that's working well is the ability for age groupers or a tri club to request a virtual appearance by a pro, right? And they can pick the topic and they can book through our app. It's something that a lot of tri clubs, when they asked for a pro to appear at their meeting prior to an event, let's say they go to Augusta 70.3 in your neck of the woods, a lot of times the tri club cannot afford the fee to pay for an appearance for a pro. But the beauty of technology now with Zoom, the pro can be there at the race, but stay at his hotel and actually do a virtual appearance from his hotel room with the tri club. Then you can meet him on site. So, I'll give you an example. If you do let's say Leander Cave back in the day, to have an appearance for a tri club was $2,000. Not a whole lot of tri club can afford that. But if you do it via Zoom, it's $200 or $300. So that's cool. And then, the other thing that's great about it is if there's if you do some kind of a Kona party and you want to have one of the pros that's won it in the past or has raced it, and you really want to get that interaction, the interactive discussion with a pro on how it is to race in Kona, you can actually book them, while the race is happening, and really have a equal experience. And ask questions, frankly, that you probably wouldn't ask, one-on-one. But now there's a group, and you can have a good time and build a relationship with that pro. And that's what we want to do as well. Being a former sports agent, what you want to do, and it's important, is get, especially in triathlon, the community is so tight, but it's small. It's really to get the pros closer to their fans and really to embrace who they are as a person. At the end of the day, embrace the sponsor they're affiliated with as well. So it grows all together.
Which is good, because triathlon is not a spectator-friendly sport. Sure, the way they set up the Olympics or the WTU circuits, right?
Yes.
Where you can watch that. You can't. It's hard to watch pros in an Ironman or a 70.3.
It is.
It's so you don't get that personal level with them.
Yeah. Logistically, listen, and then you'll see. I think you're seeing a trend now. Although it's always going to be a challenge with a full Ironman distance, right? Because it's 9 hours, 10 hours. Who's going to sit in front of the television for 9 or 10 hours? Although some people will watch golf and sit there all day and watch, the U.S. Open, right?
Yeah.
Granted, it's a little different, but I think there's a trend starting now. Although I don't see it going to a place like Kona because of the history behind it, is that especially on the bike portion, when you have to do either a half a distance, half Ironman, or 112 miles, they're going to start creating loops first for event business individuals and companies. It's a lot cheaper to do loops because you save on city permits,
cops, all that stuff, the whole nine,
and all that stuff, right? And you start seeing a trend there. And frankly, if you have 2 or 3 loops, it's much more spectator friendly that way, right? Even with the course, when when you do the run and so on and so forth. It makes it, people are getting more involved, right? So yeah, at Ironman, you have your buddy or your girlfriend or whoever you want to support at a race. They come out of the water, you can sort of see where they are. But once they take off on the bike, you don't see them for 2 or 3 hours or 7 hours. So it's, even though you have the app that you can follow them on, it's not like you're there, live, because they're like 80 miles away, right? And
Yeah.
that's really, I think, where they're trying to change the format a little bit to try to make it more spectator friendly. And that's why I think the PTO is getting into that sort of mold, if you will. On the bike course, it's just a little bit shorter. But who knows where that's going to be. We live in a good time now with the sport, with the PTO involved, and with all these.
Well, it's good to have a billionaire to back you.
Yeah, well, it's lucky for them because they have this gentleman. And the biggest thing I think is more about, okay, it's great that they have the support, but how long is that going to last, right? And you go, because, it's billionaires go, oh, it's a toy. Okay, I'm not making money now. Eventually, I want to make money. But, the rest assured the conversation that we've had with the PTO and what's been out there is the gentleman behind it is really committed to a long-term proposition and really wants the sport to succeed. So that makes a lot of sense. And hopefully it's going to continue with that trend, right? Then we have the Super League now. There's another billionaire behind the Super League. And he was a age grouper, and he still is an age grouper. And that's been going on for 5 years. Although it's basically unknown in the US, it's more of a European type of format. That is very similar to the ITU Olympic
digestible
model. Sorry?
It's digestible.
It is. And the beauty I think about the Super League is now what they're trying to do is they're creating teams as well. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but they purchased an event in California, the Malibu Triathlon. So now what they've done is they've bought the event, and all the age groupers can do the Olympic distance and the sprint distance. But on top of that, they do their Super League event, which is a friendly watching type of event with all these top athletes like the Brownlees and so on and so forth. So it's coming here. I know that they're looking for other places to expand in the US. So I think the next year or so will be interesting to see where this is going. So
Malibu's a good start.
Yeah.
Got some notoriety to it, good location, good weather. You won't get rained out.
Yeah. They need something solid, and hopefully they're going to build on it properly, which I think they will. They're thinking out of the box. They created the arena games during the pandemic, and that won some awards. So, that was thinking out of the box. You have to think out of the box. Listen, you're not going to beat Ironman at their own game. It's an established brand. It's going to remain there, and it's okay. We need it in the sport because some people like the middle distance and the long distance. But it's always good to have in the mix something that's a little different. That's going to keep the sport healthy. And I think, we see that now. You got the PTO, you got the Super League, you got Challenge. Now they've created what they call it. It used to be Challenger. Now it's called Clash. It's interesting to see where that's going to go. Clash is diversifying quite a bit. They're adding more than triathlon, which I'm a bit concerned about, frankly, because then it dilutes triathlon to some extent because it's not the main focus. It's more about, I think they're trying to.
They've only got 4 races, and the one in Atlanta is like run, bike, run. It's like, well, I'm not interested in that.
Well, because their concept is based around the racetrack that they own and what they can do with it, right?
Yeah.
It's filling the gaps and to have people that are healthy and want to participate in endurance sport. But not every track has a body of water to use, right? They did Daytona, which is perfect. Miami's okay. It's not Miami's Homestead. It's okay. It's not ideal, but it's okay. But then you look at their other racetracks, it's kind of limited, right? But they're doing the right thing by not expanding too quickly. I've worked with some other events in the past where they're trying to expand too quickly and it just falters. So you better have 4 solid events and build upon that. And build your brand, then start to say, okay, we're going to have 12 events next year. And you only have really 4 because logistically and financially it just didn't work. Right.
Yeah. And they're all East Coast too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at the concept with Clash, you have to look at NASCAR, what property they own out west, and see if it's feasible to do a race there.
yeah,
Right?
I think Sonoma is possible.
Yeah, but they don't own Sonoma. They don't own Sonoma. That's the thing. It's owned by another company. So, and if you look at Sonoma, there's no body of water around the track at all. So it would be a duathlon type of scenario, endurance type of race like they're going to do in Atlanta, right?
Well, there is a body of water very close to Sonoma Raceway. I wrote an article on it, but the thing is, I don't know what it looks like in the flesh. So I actually, if it's more of just a theoretical thing that I wrote about.
Really? Because I mean, I've been to Sonoma Raceway numerous times. I used to be involved in racing.
According to Google Maps, there is.
Where is it?
It's south of the track.
Like how far?
Not very far. Let me pull it up. I busted my keyboard on this thing. It's like a 5-year-old Surface. So I have to do everything with the mouse now, which is better than doing it with my hand. So let's see. San Pablo Bay. Actually, in the bay.
Okay, it's a bay. I'm not sure if it's swimmable, but how far is it from the racetrack?
Let's see. What is this? Open up.
I mean, if you look at Watkins Glen,
maybe a mile.
Okay, well, it's, I mean, listen, you can do it in the sense that if you look at Watkins Glen,
they're doing it there.
The lake is, maybe 2 miles away from the track. So you can set up two transition area. You can swim, get on your bike, and then you finish your bike on the bike course, and then you do your run. So that's feasible. But they don't own Sonoma Raceway, NASCAR. It's owned by another group. So you would have to look at whatever track NASCAR own and figure out some races there, around there somewhere.
But to get back to you guys, how did you come up with Credo as your name for it? I know what Credo is as a definition, as a word. Why did you choose that one?
Well, we did a lot of research.
That's good, because a lot of people get into these new businesses during the pandemic and do no market research.
No, we did a lot. We did a lot of research, and we were looking for a name that would be easily used in any language, and basically meant just about the same thing in a lot of other languages, right? So Credo and Credo in French means the same thing. It's just pronounced differently, right? So people understand what that means. So that's a big plus. It's to believe in the platform that you have, and to believe in the athletes, and believe in the sport. And that's how we came up with Credo. And we explained the definition. We sent it to, I would say, 75 to 100 people. And we put the names out there and the definition, and the name came out on top. And, we're friends that are involved in the triathlon community and the running community, because that's the plan, is to grow into other endurance sports. Once we have this Credo Tri really solid, then we'll go into running and obstacle course racing and CrossFit. That's the plan. So because it's really about big communities loving that sport. If you look at CrossFit, I mean, it's really, it's a big following. You go to these CrossFit games and you see all these athletes, you see people in the stands. And same thing, when you look at obstacle course racing, the Spartan and so on and so forth. But I think the biggest market will be running. running because it's so huge. I mean, this will be a little different, but you talk about mass. I mean, you look at the New York Marathon, you look at the Boston Marathon, all these marathons in major cities, LA and San Francisco and London and Berlin, 15, 20,000 people are doing these marathons, which is quite incredible. So I think once we are comfortable where we are with the Credo Tri App, then it's really going to be a template to really duplicate that with some tweaks, obviously, because the mindset of a runner is different than a triathlete than a CrossFitter, and really to get more into the understanding of each community. And that's what we're going to do. And I think certain communities will be more in tune with no so much the pros, but more the influencer or the people that are you consider pros in the obstacle course world, and to have that influence, out there and to be involved. So, and then go back to Credo and all the colors of Credo, they have a specific meaning towards motivation and being inspirational.
Okay. So my last question to get you out on here is, what is your plan to grow based on exposure? How do you plan on getting your name out there?
Well, in September, we're doing a big launch. Thus far, it's been sort of a soft launch because we've been still learning. But in September, we'll do a big push with our athletes because we feel now it's the time to do it, right? With 47 athletes and, over 4 million followers total, I think we'll do an okay job. But what we'll do as well is we will do a big push on social media with Instagram buys and Facebook and Google search. That'll be the big push. We did some events. Originally, we did 2 or 3 events, on-site events, but the feedback wasn't there yet, simply because we were fairly new. But we're planning on doing more in 2023 and be at major events like 70.3 Worlds or Kona or what have you, and really to create more of for us, it'll be more of a community where, let's say we go to Kona, the ideally would like to see a Credo Tri house where people can walk in and we'll have different pro athletes there, doing interviews and interacting with the age groupers and really to build a strong community. So that's where it's going. Hopefully that's where it's going to go. We're confident it's going to go there. It's like anything else. We have a 3 to 5 year plan where we want this to be at, and hopefully we'll get there, and then we'll move on to other platforms. It's
ambitious. I like it. I hope it works out.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, I think the feedback is good thus far, very good. But the key is to get people engaged, and that's why we're creating multi layers. Now we'll have the races. People will be able to go on their races and leave their comments, and friends will be able to leave comments on there, what have you. So it'll create a great community within the triathlon, world, if you will, space. And then we'll move on to the other platforms. So we're excited. I think it's something new. It's nothing like this out there. And it's great. And it's a challenge at the same time because people are not, frankly, not a whole lot of people still don't know, but we have, maybe 1,800 followers on Instagram, about the same amount in subscription. But I think once we start really the big push in September, we're probably going to be easily at 5,000 by the end of December, which is the goal. And then, get people engaged and stay within the community of triathlon and grow the sport. Frankly, we're all doing this because of, we love the sport. We feel it's a great way to stay fit. And hopefully they'll be here for, many years to come and be the go-to app for any triathlete, just not to be inspirational, but, to put in your race, the countdown to your race. And then, every month you'll get a push from a pro. Hey, don't forget you're racing Alcatraz. This is what you need to do. So really to engage the community, engage them with the pros as well. So I think that's really what we're looking for, right?
Yeah, it sounds great, Lou.
Yep.
So, hey man, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. If you want to put me in contact with, was it Greg Bennett, right? If I remember right.
Well, Greg works on another app. Yeah. But I can certainly put you in touch with Greg, because I think you'd be a great topic for his podcast.
That's cool. I don't have,
Yeah.
I've done a few before, so I don't mind.
Yep. So I think it'd be great. And then, you and I can have a separate conversation on you being part of the app. So I think
Great.
your story is good. And I think it'd be great to have you on board, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, great. All right, Lou, have a good
All right.
week.
Thanks, Eric.